Welcome back, the boy Spider Pig. Y'all already know what time it is. This has always got something in it. If not, shut up, because they be keeping me in.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. One of the most common talking points in the Naruto fandom is Itachi, specifically Itachi's chakra sickness. See, this unnamed, undescribed, and undefined illness is known to have nerfed Itachi for the entirety of his lifetime. Combine that with the fact that he only had a regular Mangekyo Sharingan that he overused and abused, which slowly but surely chipped away at his remaining life, we as a fandom feel as though we never truly got to see the full potential of Itachi and what he could achieve in terms of power. And honestly, this is fair. In the aftermath of Itachi's battle against Sasuke, Obito pretty much lays it bare out for us. That not only in Itachi's fight against Sasuke was he holding back, just hoping to pull out Orochimaru so he could seal him out of his brother, but also that during that fight, Itachi had only been holding on to the shreds of life he had remaining, using medicine to abate his terminal illness and chipping away at the usefulness of that medicine by using his MS more. But because we as a fandom feel as though we haven't seen the entirety of Itachi's strength, we happen to ask the questions like, what would he have been like without the terminal illness, or even, what would he have been like with EMS? And considering the fact that Itachi killed his father, who was a Mangekyo Sharingan wielder, at least in the anime, him having EMS was never out of the question. And I don't think any of us can deny that if Itachi didn't have this terminal illness and even possibly had EMS, his strength would have been undeniable, possibly putting him in the realm of conversation with people like Madara, or maybe not. To find out exactly how strong he would be with both EMS and no terminal illness, you're gonna have to wait till the end of the video. So with no further ado, let's get into how strong would Itachi be without his illness and with EMS. And before we get into explaining anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And we can't talk about my strength as a content creator without my other YouTube page, ladies and gentlemen, which is the Weeb Commander, where instead of talking Naruto, I talk any other anime. Been talking a lot of Fire Force recently, having fun with it. I don't know about you guys, but I know I certainly grew up as a little bit of a collector. Anytime I could get my hands on a pack of Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I jumped on that opportunity. But honestly, as I've grown older, I've been looking for the rush of opening that first booster pack of the day. That is, until now. You see, Raid Shadow Legends with its 600 different champions and endless amount of artifacts that you can equip to those champions gives you billions of different ways to raid your way. Because of the almost endless amount of combinations, elves, the druids, and the fays, they're up to being able to battle against the likes of Madara Uchiha. However, unfortunately, like Kishimoto does a fair amount of the time, every time he introduces a character that's too strong for the current timeline they're in, they get a chakra sickness, and that chakra sickness slowly but surely nerfs and then kills them. Is this because Kishimoto knows that they're too powerful for the universe and therefore their existence will make the writing kind of lazy? Is it because Kishimoto has no idea how to kill them off otherwise? Or is it simply just an unfortunate reoccurring event? Regardless of the reason of why Itachi was nerfed, he was undeniably nerfed. While we never get the true details on what Itachi's chronic illness was, in fact, we never even truly get a full confirmation that he had said chronic illness. It's more just loosely implied by Obito, who implied he was taking medicine to keep himself alive. The true, more acceptable, widely understood nerf is the fact that Itachi, over the course of his years in the Akatsuki, heavily overuses Mangekyo Sharingan. See, it's widely known that using an MS makes you go blind. We've seen it in Kakashi, Sasuke, and Itachi, who was almost fully blind at the time of his death. However, there's other detriments that go along with using an MS, and that is that it takes an incredibly heavy toll on your life force or your chakra. We're not exactly sure to the degree that using an MS technique degrades your health, but we know that using MS techniques doesn't feel good. When people like Kakashi or Sasuke before he got EMS or Itachi use their MS techniques, their eyes bleed. And Sasuke himself said that using the Susanoo feels as though every single cell in your body is being lit aflame. And thus, while the power granted by a Mangekyo Sharingan is undeniably one of the strongest power-ups in the entirety of Naruto, it's also one of the most dangerous movesets to use. To really, genuinely talk about how strong Itachi could have been, we have to talk about how strong he was. We can't set the ceiling until we understand the floor. And by understanding Itachi's weaknesses in either nullifying or scaling them higher in accordance to his power-up, we can then begin to understand how strong Itachi would have been with these power-ups. So Itachi, from an incredibly young age, was a very impressive ninja. At the age of 4, he was brought out to a battlefield of the Third Great Shinobi World War by his father, Fukaku. And while attempting to give water to one of the enemy shinobi who was calling out for water, the enemy shinobi attacked Itachi, to which Itachi's body moved defensively almost preternaturally against this enemy shinobi, cutting him down in the blink of an eye. Even though this enemy shinobi was significantly injured, he was a 4-year-old child. Itachi himself seemed surprised after he cut the Iwa shinobi's neck, almost as though his body reacted to the threat of the Iwa shinobi without him even telling it to, which from a very early age speaks to one of Itachi's most powerful assets, his reaction time, something that would only get stronger with the use of his Sharingan a couple years later. But before Itachi even awoke his Sharingan 2 years after he went onto the battlefield, Naruto was born and Kurama was released. On the night of Kurama's releasal, he was destroying the village. And Itachi's family, specifically Mikoto, his mother, while fleeing Kurama, was about to be crushed by debris. Now mind you, Mikoto is a Jonin with a 3-Tomei Sharingan. Combat and skills-wise, she's probably comparable to Kurenai or Asuma, and yet this debris was so large and coming so quickly that it was gonna kill Mikoto. That is until, of course, Itachi reacted to it and destroyed it before it could. At 6 years old, possibly at that time giving Itachi, even prior to having a Sharingan, a reaction speed faster than somebody with a 3-Tomei Sharingan. And obviously his reaction speed, power, agility, dexterity, and all of that only got more powerful when he awoke his Sharingan at the age of 8, after watching Obito cut down his Genin squad. And what's truly wild is we've really never seen Itachi with a 1-Tomei Sharingan. The first time we see Itachi with a Sharingan, it's 2-Tomei, which means it's a solid possibility that Itachi just skipped straight to 2-Tomei. Regardless of his Sharingan though, even before Itachi became a Genin, he got the second highest ever exam score in the Ninja Academy, the only other person with a higher score than him being Minato. And after becoming a Genin, he took on the Chunin exams by himself and gained the fastest ever time of completion in the Forest of Death, a time which was later beat by Gaara, but still at the current time, the fastest ever time through the Forest of Death. And he did it alone. And then in the final phase of the Chunin exams, Itachi found himself up against an opponent who fought while asleep. Think of Zenitsu, essentially. The problem with somebody who's heavily reliant on the use of Genjutsu fighting somebody who's asleep is that his eyes were closed. And this boy, while fighting asleep, was actually an incredibly potent enemy, being able to keep Itachi at bay. And this is arguably the first time that we see Itachi's battle IQ kick into gear, because Itachi, instead of panicking or even trying something stupid, realized that the boy would wake up occasionally to see how the battle was going and then fall back to sleep to continue fighting. So Itachi decided that whenever the boy would wake up, he would cast him into a terrible genjutsu that displayed him dying slowly. And Itachi did this every single time the boy woke up, until eventually he broke the psyche of the boy and the boy had to forfeit while screaming. Is it a bit brutal? Absolutely. Did it win the fight? Also absolutely. Itachi's strength was so undeniable in the final round of the Chunin exams that the majority of his opponents just forfeited. In Itachi Shinden and Itachi's light novels, we get an even further look into Itachi's power as a young kid, as the stories detail Itachi's time in the Anbu. And a lot happens in these years in the Anbu. At one point, Itachi and Kakashi find themselves up against Obito in a fight. Obito is trying to kill the fire daimyo, and the threat of both Kakashi and Itachi fighting against Obito actually makes Obito retreat. On top of that, Obito and Shisui, as 12 and maybe 14-year-olds, find themselves in combat against an Anbu captain with a Byakugan. His name is Mukai Kohinata, and he's been selling the secrets of the leaf, and thus Danzo wants him dead. And while saying that Itachi is the one that won this fight is a stretch, it was Shisui who used his MS Genjutsu ability to essentially make Mukai Kohinata cut his own stomach open. Arguably, he wouldn't have been put into that situation without Itachi being there. And mind you, this was an Anbu captain. That is the highest rank you can hold in Konoha, outside of Hokage, obviously. I mean, Hiruzen and Danzo actually had to fudge Itachi's age on his birth certificate so that Itachi could become an Anbu captain at the age of 12 years old. And then obviously, just a couple of short years after becoming an Anbu captain, Itachi was able to kill his entire clan. Now, while at this moment, Itachi did have his Monkey Kill Sharingan, because he got his Monkey Kill Sharingan after killing Shisui. He didn't kill Shisui. He basically just finished the job for Danzo. We don't really see him relying too heavily on his Monkey Kill Sharingan on the night of the Uchiha massacre. We never see Susanoo pop out of anywhere. There's no black flames burning around the Uchiha compound. And while he does cast Sasuke into Tsukiyomi, he kills the majority of the Uchiha fighters relatively quickly and painlessly, moving so much faster and efficiently than them that he doesn't even have to use his MS abilities. The only person that Itachi really took his time with was Yashiro Uchiha, since Yashiro made Fugaku be the leader of the coup and made Shisui spy on Itachi. But even against Yashiro, who he wanted to make suffer, he didn't use his MS abilities. And while technically it stated that if Fugaku fought back against Itachi, it would have been a battle of MSs, thus implying if Fugaku wanted to, he probably could have made Itachi have to use his MS. But more than anything, basically solidifies that there was nobody within the Uchiha who made Itachi go 100% all out, meaning that this 14-year-old, without even tapping into the highest amount of his power, was able to kill an entire fighting force of the Uchiha who believed they were strong enough to overthrow Konoha. And while you can say, yes, it was a surprise feat, though, mind you, the entirety of the Uchiha clan was within the Uchiha compound. It wasn't like Itachi was popping around from house to house, slitting throats as people slept. The second the battle started in this rather large compound, every single fighting person within the Uchiha clan was mobilized against Itachi, and they lost. And then obviously after the Uchiha massacre, Itachi joins the Akatsuki, where at the age of 16, he defeats Orochimaru. And while this is far from the strongest iteration we've seen of Orochimaru, the feat is still impressive nonetheless. Not to mention after the death of Hiruzen, when Itachi wanted to make sure that Danzo knew that Itachi was still out there, and if Danzo tried to lay a hand on Sasuke, he would very much kill him, Itachi returns to the Hidden Leaf. And upon returning to the Hidden Leaf, Itachi comes in combat against Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai, all of which he completely smokes without using his Susanoo or Amaterasu. He does use Tsukiyomi against Kakashi. And it's actually in Itachi's battle against Kurenai that we see one of the most powerful genjutsu abilities ever used. And it's not Tsukiyomi or Kodomatsukame, it's called the reversal of heaven and earth. You know, the moment when Itachi says that level of genjutsu doesn't work on me and he flips the genjutsu back onto Kurenai? That's an ability of his. He has the ability to flip a genjutsu back on anybody trying to cast it on him, assuming that his genjutsu prowess is higher than that of the person trying to use genjutsu on him. And mind you, all of this happened while Itachi was sick. In fact, Kisame went so far as to say that Itachi was overdoing it while they were in the Hidden Leaf, because Kisame was entirely aware of Itachi's limitations. It's not until Jiraiya shows up that Itachi and Kisame decide to pull out of the Hidden Leaf. And while Itachi does say that Jiraiya would give him and Kisame issues, a lot of people speculate that this was just Itachi making an excuse to make sure that Naruto would stay safe in Konoha. And honestly, I could see the argument going either way. On top of this trip to Konoha, we've also seen Itachi, while in the Akatsuki, fatally injure Yagura. And mind you, Yagura was a perfect Jinchuriki of the Three Tails Isobu. And outside of the fact of being a perfect Jinchuriki, Yagura was also able to use one of the most broken abilities in the entirety of Naruto, Water Mirror. An ability that allowed Yagura to deflect any kind of ninjutsu or physical attack, just like a Yata Mirror. However, Water Mirror also has the ability that if you're caught in its reflection, it basically makes a clone of you that you have to fight. Yagura, for all intents and purposes, is probably the strongest Mizukage of all time. And the Mizukage lineage is nothing to scoff at. Tie in the fact that Itachi was able to basically 1v1 him because Juzo thought he could block a tail beast bomb with the Executioner Blade, and the fact that at this point Itachi was heavily into his sickness and also didn't understand that he had Amaterasu yet, because when he uses Amaterasu against Yagura, he's surprised by it, meaning that you can scale Itachi pretty easily to Yagura before he even ascended to his true level of power. On top of this, Itachi's chakra control is probably the best we've seen from a non-medical ninja. You see, within the Naruto universe, if your chakra control is precise enough, you can amp a broken body to incredible feats. This is why Inoki, at almost the age of 100, is still able to battle during the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, and why Itachi, even though he was riddled with his terminal illness and his body being broken down by the overuses of MS, was able to fight at such a high level. Essentially, Itachi would control his body with minute chakra control movements. And because Itachi's chakra control was at such a high level, he was able to do one-hand or no-hand sealed jutsus, which has only really been seen by the likes of Minato, Sasuke, and possibly possibly Kakashi, and maybe Hiruzen and Hashirama if I'm remembering correctly. On top of that, Itachi was able to amp his strength using his chakra control. That Itachi was able to, with one kunai, block a Samehara swing from Kisame. And while obviously this is an OVA and therefore isn't exactly manga canon, we're not going to put too much stake into this, but Itachi's strength and speed are genuinely no joke, and never have been. And that's without us even talking about his true trump card, his Susanoo. See, Itachi has a non-complete Susanoo, which has two weapons, one of which is the Yata Mirror, which is able to emulate any of the 5 elemental chakra releases. The Yata Mirror is essentially able to reflect any ninjutsu by matching the chakra release of the ninjutsu coming into the shield. Shoot a fireball at it, the Yata Mirror becomes fire and rejects the fireball. However, the Yata Mirror does a whole lot more than just rejecting ninjutsu. It's also said to be able to block all physical and spiritual attacks. And while spiritual has never been fully explained, it's largely assumed that spiritual refers to things like genjutsu, or even spiritual type attacks like the Reaper Death Seal. In essence, the Yata Mirror, which comes with Itachi Susanoo, basically gives him defense against any kind of